Yes, thank you. The COVID-19 crisis is in a way a boon for the world to teach us about how education needs to change to be able to better prepare our young learners for what the future might hold for them. Our job and role as educators comes by not just facilitating this, but also making sure that this is effectively implemented. With COVID, the way things are going, and now what we hear that this could easily last for more than 2 years, maybe 3 years. And we won't be surprised to find that online education is going to become a significant part of our lives and a clear direction for education of the future. When COVID-19 situation arose, we were the first school to take a quick action for safety of our children. In line with COVID, we divided them into two groups, and at any given point in time, only one group was allowed to be physically present in the school, while rest of the students connected to classrooms from the comfort of their homes through the GIS virtual classrooms. So in a way, in all our classrooms were fully COVID compliant, and every single classroom was fitted with the needed facilities for virtual classrooms such as TV displays, Apple TV, document cameras, iPads, typical video conferencing setups that we need for a virtual experience. Post COVID-19, I think that this method, which worked really well for us, may actually become the new normal. We would see this as a common thing in every school. The entire cohort may be divided into multiple teams, and classrooms will be marked for social distancing, and safety will be paramount importance for every education institution for the students in the school. The teams will then swap the positions every alternate week, but at no point will we have the same team or both the teams together in the campus. Allowing virtual schooling as an option to physical attendance can also be looked into. This is to minimize stress, give more time to students to study and ensure their safety. We think mobile-based free conferencing systems will come to the market within the 2 months, and schools would be able to use these free conferencing systems from their mobiles for educating students. The government school education through TV, through Doordarshan, is a fine example of the large-scale virtual education. Mobile will be another medium. Another aspect where virtual will play a big role is in conducting exams in a fair manner. For this, we are implementing the idea of exams through online proctoring. This means exams will be conducted from the student from home and in camera, where a teacher can watch over the live camera when the student is writing the exam and can see if the student has used any of the non-permitted methods. We have successfully implemented proctoring for smaller online options, events, small student groups, and we are pretty sure that on large-scale school exams, this method would effectively allow schools and students to take exam from home in the same way as they used to take the exams from the school. Our dedicated in-house GIS IDS software, which is an acronym for Integrated Digital Examinations and Assessment System, which provides with the creation, delivery, and conducting of the examinations with military-grade security precisions. This also allows all answer scripts to be assessed online by a teacher anywhere in the world. Of course, the main challenges will be extracurricular activities and co-curricular activities. But we have also thought of the solution for that. Our sports analytics can be an answer to physical activities side of the schooling. We have digital sensors in place which collect on-field data for indoor and outdoor sports events. And these can help the students and teachers analyze games and guide students virtually. We have also encouraged online participation in sports events such as chess etc. And they are doing great. Right. So, you know, we believe that the scale of impact is going to be felt everywhere, not just India. Whether it is Indian students in schools or kindergartens or high learning colleges, the impact solution is very simple. The impact solution requires contact to be minimized. So any way we can provide education based on a non-contact method, online is one such example, and online is probably the effective and the most cheapest way to do so. So this would be a very, very effective way of conducting education. Just yesterday, Cambridge has announced, Cambridge University, that they're going to conduct the entire academic session for the next year starting September, right up to June of 2021 is entirely going to be conducted in online. So we are going to see massive deployment of online tools. There's been a lot of private companies already in the space. There are video conferencing companies in the space. There are LMS companies in the space. We are going to see that all these products which were once available to so-called only a select few are now going to become the the common asset for everyone, for every child, be it villages, be it small towns, be it rural areas or any other areas, including urban areas. The digital mechanisms are going to become really the big way of delivering education. Wait for a few weeks. I'm going to be sure that there's going to be a lot more announcements coming up from large companies, people like WhatsApp. Zuckerberg has some initiatives in education. I'm sure Mark Zuckerberg will try and do something to deliver education through Facebook, for example, or Google is going to try and deliver education through Google, Meet and etc. So we are going to see a lot of these tools, which used to be seen very rarely, mostly in the social space, now descend into the education space. And that will make it very easy for people to get access to cheap and accessible education. I'll tell you something very interesting. And I live in Singapore, so the story is more to do with Singapore. Singapore sees a lot of students go to States and UK and Australia. It's the same case for India as well. First time I've seen in the last 25 years, students really saying, I want to continue study in my home country. So you're going to see, the lakhs of students who used to once visit the other countries and spend, I think close to $10 billion, if I'm not wrong, Indian students were spending abroad every year. So 10 billion of currency is now going to be preserved in India. So there's a currency benefit to it. But more importantly, the institutions which are in India, which were not considered as the first choice in the past, will have to really scale up in a massive way. Whether it's the colleges or the universities, you have Amity, you have so many colleges and private universities, they will see a huge amount of influx of students coming into the universities. And whether it is face-to-face learning or virtual learning or blended learning, we are going to see these universities, have massive number of students coming in. Virtual will become the norm or the new normal. The pricing of the product or the education that is going to be available or used to be available. Take for example, if a year would cost you about 6 lakhs a year, is very high chances that the same education you will get over virtual at maybe 50% discount to the earlier price. So in a way, it will benefit the consumer. It will benefit the consumer to have access to I know for sure that today there are school students who are not in their home countries, but actually they're attending to virtual classrooms based out of Bombay or based out of other countries, and they're attending their schools in their home countries because they can't travel back to their countries of residence. So this is going to be something very positive. It will also mean that a lot of redundancies in the original form of face-to-face classrooms, a lot of cost factors used to be added to it, unnecessarily people used to be there, which universities or colleges and schools are going to see, why do I need these people? I can actually effectively use those assets for much better productivity. I can use resources into much more meaningful ways, and so it's going to impact financials, the basic economics. It will also impact the way that teachers and professors used to deliver education. It will also impact the way parents are going to make decisions, because end of the day, the parent is the consumer, and the parent is going to decide and see what value I get. Today, you could literally have an example of, within a few weeks, that student who's actually living in Delhi attending a school on a virtual learning in Bombay, because they feel that the teachers there are giving far better education. Online coaching, I can see a massive transformation happening there. Coaching centers are going to see massive shutdowns. They are going to switch to online. One teacher in one center used to deal with 80, 90 students, is now is able to deal with 300, 400 students at one go, and yet have that connectivity on a bidirectional basis. So we're going to see the scale play its game. We're going to see a lot of economics getting affected, and people actually using better economics to deliver their products and services. And we're also going to see much better quality of education emerge through this, because if, let's say, a college in Noida is really competing with a college in, let's say, NCR, then the best college in NCR will prevail, because students will immediately switch to where you have great faculty or better teaching techniques, and where the child is deemed to be learning more. So learning, the focus on learning, earlier the focus used to be on which college, which city, how much status does it have, what kind of, there used to be a little bit of status symbol attached to it. Now the status symbol is gone. You can simply take away that entire thing, and now you can say, look, this is the course I'm doing. The focus will now come back on learning. Focus will come back on skills. Focus will come back on what do you know, how do you know how to implement. So the vocational skills of the industry, we've been chatting with industry players, and we're saying, hey guys, this is a time for you to descend into, even at school education level and not just college level, and talk about skills that are going to emerge. We've been saying 21st century skills have always been the focus for industry, but just about a year back, we were at seminars in Spain, and we were talking about what are the 21st century skills. Nobody ever imagined that just few months down the line we'll be talking about completely different set of skills. So communication will become very important in the virtual world. Teachers are not going to be literally rated as per their historical track record, but also what are they doing in their today's world, how are they adapting to the new normals. All these are going to become very important parameters, and the game is changing every week, every 2 weeks. 4 weeks back, 3 weeks back, I think WHO was telling everybody, hey guys, open up your country's industry is suffering. 1 week later, they say, hey guys, hold on, don't open too fast. So there's a bit of contradictory statements that come out sometimes. But I think India has done a fantastic job by taking that decision to lock down and to be able to get all the people together, because this is a time really that all the systems that are required to be put in place to deal with larger infections going forward, to deal with creating more facilities, hospital beds, rehabilitation centers, quarantine facilities. This is what I think is going on at a very rapid pace. The army, the defense are going to be participating in this response to help the people come out of this. So all countries, we have seen the same thing. The defense is playing an important role in trying to bring these things together and to make sure that when the economy starts slowly opening up, and if, let's say, the predictions really come true that the vaccine is going to be delayed by more than 2 years, which means that we are going to see a delayed the COVID infections are going to continue. People are going to be scared to go into mass events and meet people at mass gatherings. You're going to see marriages suddenly become virtual. Now there are legislations being enacted in countries where marriages, and including Singapore, where marriages are being done on virtual, on Zoom, and the magistrate is signing off on the official marriage register that you've been married. So these are really social changes, educational changes, and every industry is going to have that impact. Every sector is going to see rapid change in the way, for example, transport. Just imagine if people are going to travel less, what effect this will have on auto industry. So there is going to be everybody from Mr. Anand Mahindra to Tatas, everybody has to think about how they're going to come out of this situation and be able to deal with it. So one of the things that one needs to prepare really for is you need to have a great leadership in place, because I think you can have best systems in place, but if the leadership kind of starts using a little bit of a political mileage, or starts basically defocusing from the main issue. So I think that's not the case in India. So that's very good. And I think overall, if I would want to restrict myself to the education sector, I think for us, for example, the tsunami in Japan was the earthquake and the resultant tsunami in Japan was an experience. I mean, we had a tsunami over, and when the school was in operation, and there was a massive earthquake, there were people who were unable to travel, all railroads, everything locked down, and students are in the school. And it kind of was the first major natural disaster that we came across, where we realized that, look, we have to be wired, we have to be networked, we have to be available to each other in a world where, for example, the telephone lines in tsunami actually went down. So all the landlines went off. The only thing that were working was mobile. And what we had to do was really set up a war room outside Japan to make sure evacuation of these students happened. Every single child was taken to their parent homes. And this exercise was carried out for 12 hours, right, stretching up to 2 a.m. in the morning. And there was a constant fear of this tsunami getting lashed out. So it actually told us, and the previous episodes of the GFC crisis in 2008 and the 2003 SARS episode that happened in Southeast Asia, I think what it basically means is you've got to be ready with your online systems. Most of the education, and I can see various segments of parents and who are for it and against it, and some say, look, I have to have a face-to-face education, or some are okay with kind of hybrid, blended. But I think what people will realize is that you're getting same quality of education in a virtual world. So many of our systems, whether it is, take for instance today, for example, a finance function, literally nobody is in the office. No, everybody is operating from their homes, but still you've got payrolls going on, you've got claims going on, you've got every single function of whether it's finance or HR or for example, the operating logistics, etc. Everything is going on, but it's all going on a virtual world. So luckily for us, with the current internet era, access to online is not a problem. Everybody has an access to data. Everybody has. Some people have access to Wi-Fi, etc. But I think more or less 4G phones are there, and that is good enough for us. What we need to do is really take the aspect of education and keep focusing our minds to say, how do I put this onto mobile? This was something that we've been talking about to our teams and our leadership teams for the last 5 years. Can you put this on mobile? No, it's very easy, difficult, blah, blah, whatever. What is the need for it? Student doesn't use mobile. But we've been actually putting things on mobile. So today, as a result, we have a much better head start. So for example, we are soon going to deploy something like for online exams, where students can actually take the exams using the mobile. The teachers can view them from their cameras, and yet the exams will be written on answer sheets. It can be attached by the students and uploaded to their LMS. So what we are trying to do is use mobiles as much as possible. Coming to in I think in a year or two, or maybe slightly more than a year or two, you will see 5G entering into the markets. Now 5G is like 20 times the speed of 4G. So in an average handset, you would probably get 4 to 5 MB in a good coverage area. You get 20 MB per second. You will get 100 MB per second in a 5G phone. So if you start looking at phone as an instrument of delivery, that will make our education not only mass reachable, but also it will allow us to think about how we can change ourselves. When things are back from post-COVID, for example, and when students get used to attending all these tuition classes online on Skype and Zoom, I don't think students are going to go back and travel 45 minutes in a school bus or auto rickshaw or go on a two-wheeler to say मुझे सर के घर पे जाना है. This I think the travel will be taken as a waste of time. People will just sit at their homes, log into their phones and be basically able to talk to the tuition teachers. So what is going to happen is, I think we have to be prepared. Every single service element of education needs to be mobile focused, and that's the only way out. And I think as long as we keep that focus in every single aspect and feature, our learning won't be disrupted. So that's very important piece. Not a problem. Yeah. So as I said, this is a golden question that even the president of US doesn't have an answer to. But I think as we are beginning to see, there are some switching to purely online, like the Cambridge University has announced it. Many of the US, UK, Australia universities are going to go online. So that's understood. But as far as schools are concerned, we are beginning to see countries announce opening of schools. In fact, Singapore government has just announced yesterday that the schools are going to be open from early June. We have actually operated in this during the COVID period with a model where we had half the students in the school and half the students were basically dialing in from homes. So the blended learning will continue. It's not a very difficult proposition to really have schools operate during the COVID. It's basically a question of implementing all the preventive measures, such as temperature taking at home and making sure the child doesn't go to the classroom or the school. Temperature taking within the school. You may have individual temperature takings or group temperature taking systems implemented. There are many companies who are going to come up with all these things because even corporate offices are going to need this. But yes, schools will open. There would be a lot of norms and rules and directions being set up by the governments to implement safe distancing in schools. And you would see a limited portion, maybe 1/3 or 1/4 of students physically in the school, and majority of them will operate from home. The other things we will see is that students will have to wear the masks. Some may bring in their windshields because something like a helmet visor. So the windshields will be helpful while they are sitting in the cafeteria. And this way, I think there are many systems we can put in to counter and minimize the contact between the students within the schools. And given our 2 weeks of operation of these blended learning and partially in schools and partially in homes, we believe that, and we didn't have any risk coming out of it, even though we had like 2,000 students in the campus at any time, and the rest of them were from other locations. So we think it is a doable thing. There needs to be a public confidence around it. Parents need to be confident that schools are a safe place for their child. School buses are a safe places for their child. So even students are going to be requiring school buses, seating to be far away to maintain that 1 meter distance. So you will see all these things in place: cafeteria, school buses, classrooms, labs, libraries. All places we will have to implement safe distancing, and it's possible to open the schools even as soon as July onwards. So I hope it was good and informative for your audience. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye bye.